Hello, ladies. I am so glad you're here. I'm so glad to be with you and share a little bit. I was just telling Danielle before we started that this is a part of a presentation that I did for a conference. So I'm going to try to keep it between 20 minutes and 30 minutes. So for those that listen to it later on, it will be a shorter recording, but so I'm going to start right away. So the name of this is Jacob's Ladder. And I want you to think as I love the two witness in scripture when it talks about having two witnesses. And I love to do that with the New Testament and the Old Testament, whether it is any place on the Tanakh and the Brit Hadashah, it always helps me to have the full picture. And it's like, okay, I have both sides confirming what we're studying. And that is a good way to consolidate, to solidify in your mind the teaching, whatever you're studying, whatever you're looking into. Try to find it. It's like, where does this come from? And try to find other places where that confirms the same thing, so that you have, it's easier to stand on 2 feet than on one. So with that said, I'm going to read to you from Genesis 24. And it starts on verse 10 and is the whole account of Jacob leaving his home and going on his way to Laban. So it says, Jacob left Beersheba and went toward Haran. And he came to a certain place and stayed there that night because the sun had set. Taking one of the stones of the place, he put it under his head, and he lay down and in that place to sleep. And I want you to use symbolism as we're reading. It always makes it easier to remember. It gives you a fuller picture. So we know that Yeshua is the rock. We know that the word of God is what we need to rely on. I always thought, why put there that he got a rock and put it under his head? That is like the hardest pillow I've ever thought of, sleeping on. But there is a reason for everything he does. So he has this rock under his head. So I want you to think of renewing your mind with the word. We have the mind of Messiah. That's what we're told by Paul. So think about that. So he falls asleep in that place. This is something that I've talked to you about neuroscience before, that when we go to sleep, the conscious obviously go to sleep. We go into lower levels of brain function. There are slower wavelengths. And that is the part, especially the first 20 minutes and the last 20 minutes of our sleep is when we reprogram our mind. Okay, I don't know why it did that, but is the recording fine, Amanda? It just asked me to recording in progress. Did it stop before?
It didn't stop that I know of.
Okay. Well, for some reason it did that on my side.
Yeah,
okay.
I saw it too. Yeah, I saw it too.
Cool.
I'm not sure.
Okay, so so what happens is during those theta waves, you're reprogramming your mind. So it's good to remember things or even ask your brain for things before you go to sleep, because during those first 20 minutes, your brain has a better function that our Google search, and it will start searching for answers for that. So it's always good to do that. Okay, so we keep going. And he dreamed, and behold, there was a ladder set up on the earth, and the top of it reached the heaven. And I want you to think of our bodies. We are made out of earth, and heaven would be if our feet, if we're all made out of earth and our feet are on the earth, the closest thing to the heavens is our head. So our head is that place where he has placed the mind of Messiah, so that our body has a constant connection with that brain, and to keep all the organs functioning properly. And we're going to go into more of that in a minute. So I just want you to just track with me and keep both of those, the Jacob's ladder, his dream, and neuroscience together, so that we can understand better how our body works. Okay, so then it says, and behold, the angel of God, the angels, which angels means messengers of God, were ascending and descending on it. So he's letting us know it wasn't just like angels were coming from heaven down to him and helping him in his dream. No, they were going from earth to heaven, and from heaven back to earth. So just like our bodies, everything goes from our organs to the brain, and the brain back to the organs. Okay. And behold, the Lord stood above it and said, I am the Lord, the God of Abraham, your father, and the God of Isaac. The land on which you lie, I will give to you and your offspring. Your offspring shall be like the dust of the earth, and you shall spread abroad to the west and to the east, to the north and to the south. And in you and your offspring shall all, and pay attention to all, look it up in the dictionary, and all means all. The families of the earth will be blessed. So obviously we are a family on the earth. He's talking about us too. Behold, I am with you, and I will keep you wherever you go, and I will bring you back to this land, for I will not leave you until I have done what I have promised you. So if that is a promise, and he's given it to him and to all the families of the world, we can take that to the New Testament, to Philippians 1:6, where he says, he who started the good work in you will complete it, because that's a promise. And he is just reiterating through Paul to the Philippians that promise that was given all the way back from to Jacob, from Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, is coming through that lineage all the way to all the families on the earth. And he will take us back to his land. This is not, well, I wonder if, and if I'm good enough, I'll probably get there. This is not about, he's not explaining anything about what you do or you don't do. Now, of course, there are consequences for our sin, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. Okay, then Jacob awoke from his sleep and said, surely the Lord is in this place, or Yehovah, Jehovah, and I did not know it. And he was afraid and said, how awesome is this place? This is none other than the house of God and in the gates of heaven. So he called that place Bethel, the house of God. So early in the morning, Jacob took that stone that he had put under his head and set it up for a pillar and pour oil on top of it. So think about that. So there is a proclamation, kind of like when Yeshua says to Peter that what he had said, that he is the Messiah, and he calls him the rock. So it all comes in, it all links back, and it's telling us that proclamation that you have said will become that assurance that what he said to us will come to pass. So it's kind of like our own little tablets, so to speak, when Moses went up and got the ketubah, and God said all that he said, and everybody said, we will do and we will hear. And it is that covenant. So when we hear from him and we make that a proclamation, and we accept that stone, we accept that covenant, and we say yes, and he's pouring oil on it, that is what Messiah is. It is the anointed one. So we are confirming that, yes, I might have not been on Shavuot, even though he says that we were all in them, and we may have not been with Jacob at Bethel while he's having this dream, but he says that through him all the families on the earth. So think about that, include yourself, because we tend to think that's the past, that's old, that has nothing to do with me, and it does. Everything has to do with us. So then it says, I'm going to deal with oil. Okay, so he called the name of that place Bethel, but the name of that city was Luz at first. And it's interesting, Luz means light. And so takes you back to first day of creation, light out of darkness. He was sleeping, and he was sleeping in the place of light. And he calls then that the house of God. What are we called? The temple of the living God, which temple really is a house. So it's we're saying the same thing. It's reiterating everything again. Then Jacob made a vow, saying, if God will be with me, I will keep me in this way that I go, and will give me bread to eat and clothing to wear, so that I come again to my father's house in peace. Then the Lord shall be my God. And this stone, which I have set up for a pillar, shall be God's house. And of all of that he gives me, I will give him a full tenth to you. So here we have even the tenth, the tithing is spoken about even before all that had been said, before the law had been given. So think about that. He is saying it's everything we know to go on a journey. We're putting our head, our thinking mind, we are putting it above our body. So is this man over beast? And I'm not going to go by what my feelings, my desires, my longings, my cravings want. I am going to put my head on that rock. I am going to let the word of God guide me and be my head, my guiding force. And that anointing is not just when you put that rock as a pillar and you say, this is a monument, this is for everyone to see. Our faith is not private. I know a lot of people, especially from my generation, my faith is private. I don't need to be talking to that, about that to other people. And yes, it is. The pillars were always a testimony to the world. Here's where I stand. And when you put oil on it, you are anointing it. You're saying, I am not just linking it to Messiah, who is the anointed one, but you're also saying, I'm a priest. I am anointing this proclamation that I'm just saying. So use all those symbolisms because they have a bigger story to tell. And then he's saying, if you will give me, eat, food to eat, and what is it that we pray in the Lord's Prayer? Give us today our daily bread. And when when we talk about and this hasn't happened yet, they haven't left Egypt, and they haven't gone through the desert, but we know this. As we're reading this, we know that their shoes didn't wear out, their clothes didn't wear out. So God kept his promise. And he did, even though Jacob did die in Egypt, his body was taken back to the land where God said he would take him. And he did take him in peace. So it is important that we keep that story linked, that we're not taking things isolated and then we just study little islands and then nothing makes sense in our mind because we're not putting them together. Okay, and he's saying that is the house of God, and that's who we are. We are the house of God too. Okay, so I am going to share my screen. And you guys will tell me if it, if the sound changes and there's a problem. I will stop it again, but I just want you to see Jacob's ladder there. And so we know that the word gives us tools to overcome any obstacle. So we're going to use this imagery. We're going to use this story. We're going to use this actual event that happened to him and in him to us. And when he says there, and and you said to see, okay, how does that translate to my body? How does that translate to neuroscience? So we have there that when Jacob awoke and he believed that God was present in that place, he took that stone. That's part of what I just said to you. So I just wanted you to look at that picture and think about what is it that means. So when I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, okay, earth, heaven and earth, I'm thinking second day. I'm thinking the separating of the waters, the upper waters, the lower waters, and what happens in between those. How does that the building of that house, because that's day 2 is Bina, is understanding, but that that letter bet also is for house. So it is the building of the house. And how do we do that? How do we renew our minds? Because he tells us that we're supposed to be renewing, ing is a continuous tense of the verb, our minds. And using this as our template, what I'm thinking is, okay, what are these messengers? So let's look at the blood. What does it say about our blood? Because what takes things up and down in our bodies is the blood, right? And in Leviticus 17:11, it says, for the life of the flesh is in the blood, and I have given it to you to make atonement for your souls upon the altar. For it is the blood that makes atonement for the souls. So we talked about this before in other calls, where the soul is the part that is being saved, because this body is not going to heaven. So it's just a vehicle that is going to help us journey in this realm. And then the Spirit of God, it says, that it goes back to where it came from. So that's not the part that needs to be renewed, but our soul is. And our will and our emotions and all, that's all the part that we're dealing with in this realm. And this is from the straight from encyclopedia. It says the blood is the most important transport medium in the human body. It transports gases like oxygen, carbon dioxide, nitrogen, etc., as well as nutrients. It's part of our metabolism and products of cell metabolism. So as we produce things and we have waste products, the blood brings in good stuff, takes out bad stuff, right? It provides the tissues with blood gases and nutrients, and in exchange transports end products like carbon dioxide, urea, uric acid, creatinine, etc., to the eliminating organs like our lungs, liver, kidneys, our skin. Furthermore, it carries chemical messengers or hormones to the target organs. So that's the part that I want us to focus a little bit, because we can talk about so many things on that, but we're going to just focus for this amount of times that we're together on those chemical messengers, those hormones. And I want to talk about 4 hormones that are they're called the happy hormones. And so when we're thinking about what are these good chemicals, what are these messengers that they go from the earth, like from our organs, from our body to the brain, and from the brain back to the body. what is that information that is carried, and then and how does it help us in different situations, like if I'm angry, if I'm depressed, if I'm anxious, any of those things. How do I use what God has given us that is good? Because he does say in Philippians 4:8, and everything that is good and everything that is worthy of praise, anything that is pure, and those things dwell. So we're supposed to be functioning in that realm and not in complaining. And of course, we are in the middle of, we just did Korah and Chukat, and we still have 2 more for this month of Tammuz, and everything is complaining and everything is horrible. And we see what happens when we do that, that they did in the desert. So the way I put this hormones so I could remember it, since they did say, I will do and I will hear. So that's part of that day 4, when they hear the test, the tablets, and the Father is given his covenant to them. They said, I will do and I will hear. So thinking of do, I just make this dust as D for dopamine, O for oxytocin, E for endorphins, and S for serotonin. So that just helps me remember just that 4 happy hormones. And I'm just going to take them one by one. So dopamine is the pleasure hormone. And it is stimulated when we strive toward a goal. It helps motivate us to take action to achieve the goal so that we can experience the pleasure of the reward. It's also called the reward hormone, because it's what rewards us when we have accomplished something. But you can be rewarded for something that you never planned to do. So that's why it's important that we create goals. And that is something that we can do on a daily basis. It will be healthy patterns. We're going to learn healthy patterns. And that is one of the, I've shared with you already, this hand technique, that it's a pattern to help our brain stay within those limits. I like to use always the illustration of playing bowling, and how you put those bumpers that keeps you within the lane, so that you get a good muscle memory of achieving your goal. And when you do that, by the time you get your muscle memory going, you get that pattern, then you can take the bumpers out and you will be more likely to stay within your lane and not coming out of it. Like the word says, not to the right, not to the left, but stay on your line or your lane. So ways to increase dopamine. So we said daily, or monthly goals. Having a specific, measurable, and achievable goals give us something to strive toward, and stimulating this dopamine production. And that is why purposeful lives does make us happy. And with that said, having a routine of like in the morning, I like to do my journaling, and when I do my quiet time, I do my brain detox. I use Musar for that. So I ask the Holy Spirit to guide me into what is it that I need to concentrate to eliminate from any toxicity in my mind or anything in my brain that needs to be clear of anything, any shortcomings, any character that I need to perfect, mature in my life. And you do that on a regular basis. So you journal, you see how you're doing, you ask the Holy Spirit to guide you through that process of elimination. I did this and it actually worked for me. And then you see the pattern. Every time I do this, I get this, because you are setting a goal. When you do achieve it, then you get that feel of that dopamine reward. And that is part of staying healthy. That is good for us. So if you don't plan anything and you do nothing, you will obtain nothing. You will get exactly what you put into. So that is something that, because he tells us not to be idle, and you can read that many times in Proverbs, it lets us know when we do what he has said to do, then our body functions better and we function better. Another one is exercise. When you have an objective, like I said, okay, I'm going to walk a mile, so then I can do it by distance. If until I finish my mile, I'm not done. So then by the time I'm done, I can feel that dopamine reward saying you have accomplished your mile. Or I say, you know what, I'm going to exercise for 15 minutes. So then however long I walk, it doesn't matter. My goal is on time. I want to spend 15 minutes walking. So whatever goal you set, that is what your brain is going to work on. And when you accomplish it, your brain will reward you for it. So it is important to do that. It's like, oh, I'll just walk, and today I walk 3 minutes, and tomorrow I walk half an hour, and the other one, yeah, it's fine there, but you don't get that reward because your brain doesn't know when you want to start and when you're finishing. So when we do have those goals, our brain functions so much better, and our brain will reward you for it. So that's something that our Father created. It's not something that you can set up and you do yourself. It's a pattern that he has put in our brain to do that for us. So then let's go to E. For dust is oxytocin. So oxytocin, for those of you that are mothers and have ever been given Pitocin to create more oxytocin because you're not having enough oxytocin to dilate, that oxytocin just changes the structure of your body to accomplish something. Like in the case of birth, it will be there to help you change your canal to let that baby come out and just create all the changes necessary for you to have a successful birth. But it's also produced in intercourse, and during either one, intercourse and childbirth, large amounts of oxytocin are being released, and they but even the good old hug works, says this medical I took this from a medical dictionary, that it is important to know that our body can be, and I don't like to use the word trick, because you're really not tricking it. It's just that our body doesn't really know if that hug is coming from someone or I am hugging myself. Just the feeling of a hug is something that our body will receive and will interpret as I'm being loved, I'm being held, and that oxytocin is released. And that is, it just gives you a sense of love, a sense of trust, and it is a really good boost for relationships. And I like to, when I am doing Thanksgiving, when I do my morning routine of I thank God for the day, I also praise him for the things he has given me, for all that I have because of him. And then I worship him, and I worship him for who he is. Has nothing to do with me, has nothing to do with my life. He is worthy of all praise. So but when I'm doing that in the place, and in that place of praise, I like to hold myself And because you are here, you are present in the praises of your people, and you're with me, and you hold me, and I'm safe in your arms, and I'm loved by you. And I tell that to my body because my brain knows it, my mind knows it, but my body, many times, that flesh, that is the one that is so easily entangled and hindered by what's out there. I have to reaffirm that and let my body know what my mind does, and that can be accomplished too by a massage. Apart from the physical relaxation of the muscles, the massage increases our emotional well-being and helps us prolong physical and contact release. Releases that contact releases oxytocin in our system. So that is part of that. Anything that you do, any type of technique that you use, whether it is, and I'll go over them. I've shared with you several of them, but even when we are upset, we actually squeeze our hands, or when we are, have anxiety, we actually tend to wring our hands, or play with our fingers, or play with our hair, or tap our foot. All that we do with our foot, everything that we do with our hands, we just move rhythmically. All those things are making our body get engaged, and each organs, as the movement comes, will create, because every organ is there is a point that you can look it up in reflexology, in your hands, on your feet. Every organ is represented there. So when you're squeezing, when you're doing that, you are activating your body, and those chemicals are going through your blood, whether you're thinking of it or not. They're going up and down, and that is being that's taking place. Then we have the physical contact. When you get a chance, hug your family and friends, put your arms around a colleague. All these things are going to help us, because, like I said, our body doesn't know. Our body just reacts to the touch. And that is so important, because during this whole time of isolation, there has been many people have, my husband and my love language is personal touch and closeness. So that's not a lack in this home, but in some people's and families, there is. If that's not their love language, it's not something that they think, because their tank may be full by words of affirmation, by service, by quality time. So then they're not thinking that that person needs to have a hug, or there should be some personal contact, and it is very important for us. Then we have E, which is endorphins. So endorphins is what blocks pain, and we actually create them, and it is an opiate type of hormone. And when we have receptors for it, and we create it ourselves, and that is created through attachment. So when attachment is lacking in the life of a baby or of a child, and it doesn't have to be because there was a bad mother, or I had many of the families. I told you I was a parent educator for 12 years, and in the health department in the school system. And a lot of the moms that I visited, it says, my parents never hugged me, or I didn't think I needed to do that. So it's, one, again, it may not be their love language, and two, that was unknown to them. That's not the way they were raised. So they didn't think that that was important. I remember going to a mission trip, one of the mission trips that I went in Poland, and we were talking, I was reading to them that little book, You Are Special, and it's talking about, expressing love. And I asked them, so how many of you, I'm talking to college age students here, and at that point, and I'm asking them, who of you have had that experience? And the majority, and I said, can I have a raise of hands? No hands went up. And I thought that was bizarre. I said, what do you mean? Your parents never told you that they loved you? And then they said, they didn't have to. They fed us. They took care of us. We had a home. They sent us to school. We knew they loved us. And that was just, weird to me. It's like, wow, that's all you needed. But when I read that book and I got to the end of it, there were many, many teary eyes in the room. So you may say all you want, and you may say, no, I don't need that. I know they love me, and that, but we do need that, because why did you get all teary eyed if that was not important to you? So it is important that we do have that. Our body needs that. We have this system, this endorphin system, that if it's not produced, this endorphins are not produced in your body naturally, then you will find something that will do that, whether it is through drugs. That's why many children with problems with attachment have drug addiction problems in their teen years, because that's something that your body needs, because your body did not develop that system properly. And then when you are exposed to an opiate that attaches to those receptors that are there to be attached, endorphins should be attached to it, not an outside drug, not an outside opiate. When it does come in, then all of a sudden you feel that wonderful warmth that you should have received from your own endorphins, and you get hooked. So that is one of the things that endorphins do. They are produced when we do certain type of exercises. If you have noticed, let's say I'm stretching and I'm stretching this shoulder, and oh, it hurts right here. So if you hold that and breathe into it 3 times, and you hold it there, and then you, after 3 times, and you are holding it where you stop because it hurt, you can actually push it a little bit more, because after that time that you've breathed into it, you produce endorphins. That is hurting. So the pain is going to help you produce the endorphins. And that's why, you have that that extra push when you're doing something and you are like, okay, oh, this is hurting, but I'm doing it. And then after a little while you're, but I did finish. And you wonder what helped you push through. And that is your body. You got to a point where your body says, I can't do anymore, but your body produces the endorphins to help you push through. And again,
Hey, Sammy.
Yes. You hear me?
Hey, can you stop sharing? Yeah, can you stop sharing your screen and show us that again? So like you're big and we can see it.
The what? Not to show you the screen.
It looked like you were doing something. Yeah,
No?
It looked like you were just doing something with your arm.
Oh, okay. And you couldn't see it?
It was just really small because it was a split screen. So if you're big and you do it, then we can see you better. And then you can put your screen back up.
Okay, so right now you are seeing me, right?
Hold yes.
On. Yes, I took, because now I don't see you. Hold on, I had it. Okay, there. Okay, what I was showing was that, and see, okay, I knew this was going to take longer. Okay, so what I was doing was stretching my shoulder. So when I'm doing this, and it could be anything, you're trying to, bend over your legs, or you're trying to bring your knee to your body, and then you get to a certain point and you go, okay, that's all I can do, and you breathe into it. And then you're able to push a little harder in because I'm creating those endorphins. Okay, if you're having a hard time seeing me, you can put your screen on speaker, and then everybody will be little and I'll be big. So that way you can see, my movement. But that's basically what I was saying. You can actually, like I'm pushing my neck right now, and I can do that. I can breathe into it. And go ahead, do something right now that you're having a hard time moving. And my body's creating right now endorphins. And see, my neck went farther than before because those endorphins that my body is producing help me push through. So that is part of how we use our body to create those endorphins. Okay, so I'm gonna go back. Actually, I can just let it be that way. Okay, I'll just read it to you. So the next one is serotonin. And serotonin boosts our mood and makes us agreeable and sociable. So we all need serotonin because a lack of it can cause irritability and depression. So if you feel like you are irritable and you have depression, we need serotonin. And serotonin, it's a very easy way. There's different ways to increase it. And one of them is choosing positive thoughts. So when we choose to remember happy events in the past, remember I've talked about being historical and not hysterical. So hysterical is just being irritable and I am so angry of what's happening right now and here it goes again, and then all I'm doing is making it worse for me. I am depleting my serotonin if I had any. Obviously, if I got this irritable, I probably had very low levels of it in my blood. But if I choose to become historical, then I would say, okay, right now, this doesn't feel good. This is not what I wanted, but Father, you've been good to me. You've been good to me in this situation. You've been good to me in this other situation. And you've always been there for me. And if I can think about even looking around, I'm in a house that you provided for me. I'm alive. You've given me life. I have food in my table. I can open the covers and then all of a sudden that anger just diminishes. Why? Because I'm creating serotonin. I'm helping my body to go back into that lane. I'm putting bumpers. I'm saying, no, we're not going there. Yes, this is not what you wanted. Your tire blew up and you are in the middle of a highway and you don't know what to do and you realize you don't even have your cell phone on you. So you are like, what am I going to do? So then you stop, you get to, a safe place, get to the shoulder, and then you become historical. You know what, Father, when things like this have happened, you have been there for me. And you remember those times, and then you trust him, and I trust you. You're a good Father, and you can apply all the different techniques with. I will talk to you in 5 minutes, so that. But I've taught you that before, so I'm just going to reiterate something that I have taught you before. But I wanted to give you the biological background and the biblical background. Why is it that this works, and why is it okay to do it? Some people go, no, that's New Age. I'm not doing that. No, it is actually something that our Father has given us to help us cope. You can expose yourself to sunlight. It's important to look up. That's another thing. We just did an Hukat and this last portion, and they had to create that bronze serpent and put it on a pole, and they could have put it on the floor. Serpents are not up in the high in the air. They're usually on the ground. So they could have looked down, but no, he wanted us to look up. There is physiologically and biologically, when we look up, we produce good serotonin. So you look up, you remember, you focus on every good and perfect thing, everything pure comes from our Father of lights. And that actually helps you. I do a lot of translations for patients in physical therapy. And when they're doing something to them, moving their arm, their legs, or whatever that they had surgery on. And the first thing we all do, think about it, you immediately hold your breath and you tense because, oh, that hurts. And when we do that, and we look down, that is like, oh, and that is the worst thing you can do in a moment of pain, because we need to, 1, look up, 2, take deep breath. So we start creating those endorphins. And as soon as I tell them, look up, breathe deep, they immediately relax. And at this point, the therapist is still doing the exercise, whatever it was that they were doing. But at that point, just looking up and breathing will start creating the serotonin, creating the endorphins. I give them time. This is 5 more minutes and you'll be done. So dopamine is created at that moment. And so you give yourself all this, use those hormones for your good. For it to help you. Exercise at low intensity, while endorphins are produced in anaerobic zones, those are zones that you don't need oxygen. Serotonin is produced in aerobic exercises. So when we are doing cardiovascular, when we're running, when we're walking, when we're swimming and doing all those aerobic exercises, you're producing serotonin too. And anaerobic means there is no oxygen because it's not an aerobic, kind of like when I was doing the stretch, that's an anaerobic exercise, is not an aerobic exercise, but you're producing both endorphins and serotonin in both of them, because you may be walking, and that's aerobic. Air is being used in that exercise, but then you just get to a point that you're like, oh, I'm not gonna make it. You bring dopamine in. Oh yes, I am finishing this because I said 15 minutes and I will do 50 minutes, or I have to finish this mile because I said I was going to do the mile. So then you get your dopamine in there, but then you're still, but it hurts, I can't. And then boom, the endorphins kick in. And then you can even use your oxytocin at that point. You can talk to yourself. You can do it. Come on. You see animals do this, like monkeys. And that is a way, touch. That is a way that they are bringing that. There is tapping is used also to create those. So there is all kinds of ways that we can help ourselves do that. Then you can consume tryptophan, which I thought this was interesting, with carbohydrates. Foods like milk and corn have tryptophan. And one of what is one of our favorite things to eat is chips with the queso. You have the cheese there, you have the corn, and that creates tryptophan, and that converts into serotonin in our bodies. And high protein foods usually don't convert as well. Neither do bananas. That's good for potassium, but not for serotonin. And because they don't cross the blood-brain barrier as easy as corn and carbohydrates and dairy. So then I am going to, let me get back here. Where am I? Okay, so one of the things that I am going to share with you the screen here so that we can do this, because not everybody knows the Lord's Prayer, and the Lord's Prayer is so important for all of us to know. Let me share here this screen, and here it is. Okay, So for those of you that have done have learned to do the hand technique with me in other classes, and what it is, I am using, I'm gonna use all my organs as I'm squeezing all the areas in my hand. Every organ is represented in my full hand. So I am using touch as I'm pushing my right hand over my left, just like this. I am compressing that. This is just a pattern. You can do this pattern however you want. If you want to do this pattern like this, you just have to make sure that you get to the sides. That's why we start here at our at the thumb, and we go over, and then we get to the side, because it's important that you also get to this side, but you also need this because this is your spinal column. So then you bring it over, and that is one rotation. But you can also just put cream in your hands or oil and just do this, and you can massage all of it. It will not make any difference. All we want is to activate the organs so that they produce those chemicals, those hormones that are being transferred from the blood, from the earth to the heaven, and heaven to earth. So we want that from our body to our brain, and for the brain to our body. And the way I like to do it, and like I said, you can do this. This also helps. It's called Havening, and this one is just crossing so that both hemispheres are being used when we cross our hands, because my right hand, my right side of my body is moved by my left, and my left side of my body is moved by the right. So when you're crossing over, you can do this by doing this. It's called the pretzel. You can cross your feet, but we want, if we feel funky and something is not feeling right, probably both hemispheres are not communicating. So we need to do that. But I'm just going to show you the one that God gave Gary Sinclair, and he put it in his book, Healing Memories in Minutes. And that is been used by other people also, but I studied it from him. And I like to do 4 right over left and 4 left over right. And I'm just going to do it with you as I do my morning prayer. I do this. Yeshua taught that to his disciples. It's kind of like a miniature Amidah. And I put it in colors. You can see the menorah. I use all those things together because I've learned it. I know what the days of creations are. Those are the colors of the rainbow. Then I know also what each spirit is on each one of them, that it's working on that. So there's a lot of layers there. But basically, I just wake up in the morning, and if I have something that I want to pray for, I place that in my hand, I think of that, and then I do the prayer. And it actually works perfectly fine, 4 on one side, 4 on the other side with the Lord's Prayer, because his word goes out to do what he sends it out to do and never comes back void. So I am trusting his word on this, and this is what I do. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be.
Hey, Simi.
Okay.
Simi.
Yeah.
Cut it a little higher so we can see. It's kind of cutting it off. There you go. Thank you.
Okay. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done on this earth, because we're made out of earth, as it is in heaven. I have 4 there. Give us today our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Do not lead us into temptation, but deliver us from the evil one. For yours is the kingdom, and then you release the power and the glory forever and ever. Amen. That's how I do my prayer.
in the morning and at night and whenever I need it.
If you ever get, I'm gonna, if you ever get, hold on, let me get this out. Okay. A little prayer hand in the heart and another prayer hand. That is what I'm doing. When I say that I'm praying for you, that's what I pray. I put you in my hand and I send the word to do the work that I can't do. I'm not there. I don't know all the details. I don't know what's going on, but I know the Father does. So I send the word to you. And as a sacrifice, we had to put your right hand over the head of the animal when you were going to slaughter it. So we don't have a temple right now. And but I'm still flesh. This is still an animal. So I'm putting my right hand over it, and prayer is our sacrifice. So that's what I do in prayer. Okay, so that, I thought it was going to be shorter. So sorry for those that wanted something shorter, but that's what you get. And you can stop the recording so we can have questions, and I hope this helped you. If you have any questions, please do